Is NIO, the Chinese EV startup from Shanghai, a potential 300 billion company? Well, at least to the famous investors Baillie Giffords, they have a price tag of around mind-boggling around $300 a share. So let's dive into their outlines of their investment thesis and the valuation of the company and see what kind of questions that they are asking and how they are answering it. And also I will give you my 10 cents on that. And stay till the very end of this video if you also want to know, is NIO still a potential investment right now? Because of course we had a really nice run in the last recent weeks, so I'm going to talk about like what are my future prospects and also will I be selling the stock and what I'm going to do with it. So who are Baillie & Giffords exactly? First of all, they are an asset and investment firm from Edinburgh and with 100 years in history, and in that time they have been investing in companies such as Google, in Amazon, and of course in Spotify, Tesla and SpaceX. What I really like about them is that they're branding themselves as investing in sustainability, and at the same time their slogan is actual investors think in decades, not in quarters. So that's really aligned with my personal investment approach, as I'm not doing a lot of short-term investing. And I've made a couple of similar investments to them, so for instance NIO, Tesla as well as Meituan Dianping. Baillie & Gifford are going pretty big into the EV revolution, owning 7.7% of Tesla, in the beginning around 11% of NIO, and now upping it up also to almost 13% of a stake in NIO. So why is Baillie & Gifford investing in NIO as well as in Tesla, and what is their investment approach and outline for NIO, and why do they come up with a valuation and a price target of $300 billion of market cap? I found this interesting one-pager prospectus by Baillie Giffords about NIO, and I think it's actually dating back to 2015 when NIO first IPO'd, also around a share price of $6 to $7 a share. So here it's what it says. So in this prospectus they outline why they invest in NIO. First, it's an emerging, uniquely Chinese brand champion that aspires to completely reimagine the experience of a car ownership and shape a community of joyful users with premium member service and offered through NIO House and NIO Life. Also, a vast market opportunity. China accounts for 60% of incremental EV sales globally, with a huge pent-up demand, and given the chances of citizens obtaining a license plate for non-EV, e.g. in Beijing, are 1 in 800, nor is the market limited to China. Also, they say they have an inspiring founder who naturally thinks in a long-term time frame and invests personally. Also, it's an attractive business model because it's considerable spare capacity in the Chinese automotive industry, and NIO is happy to outsource the manufacturing of the product to high-quality partners, so that's JAC, and while retaining control of the intellectual property here. So it's pretty nice to see the summary of how they see NIO really nicely positioned as a new premium brand in this attractive market that's growing and where the investor has a big stake, and as the business model with NIO being not a car manufacturer but actually the lifestyle brand on top, which is making the money by selling the cars and designing them but outsourcing the manufacturing aspect. So according to Baillie Giffords, how could it be much more valuable in the future? So they outline two aspects regarding the vehicles. So first of all, they say they can reach 1 million in sales of vehicles sold, and second of all, also 1 more million that is licensed to third parties. And then they also outline that the user base that they are creating is also valuable in addition to that, because they see the potential of the NIO Life, which includes the clubhouses but also fashion lines and e-commerce aspects and so on, to be worth RMB 200 billion plus. And regarding the vehicle sales, they see a potential of 20% margins because in the premium sector this is achievable, and also they say that this would create around 100 billion RMB in post-tax cash flow, and this results in a valuation of around $300 billion. So that's 40 times upside based on 2015 measures, but obviously now NIO trading at the same around a value, that's still 40% upside in terms of the share price. So is this 300 billion valuation for NIO actually realistic? Well, let's first look at where Baillie Gifford says they could actually be wrong. First point is there could be competition and Me Too brands like Byton or Xiaopeng which take away some of the market share and sales. Second of all, it remains unclear if the lifestyle aspect and the user base is actually just a fad or if it really creates an additional value. And their third point is that regarding manufacturing, there could be pressure because they are relying on the third-party partners and maybe NIO would need to manufacture by themselves. So that may cause some trouble regarding the margins. And then Baillie Giffords outlines 10 more short questions that are really interesting to have a look at. So first of all, can sales double in the next 5 years? So they have a plan of first achieving 500 million sales and then 1 million sales ultimately in a 10-year perspective. Then as long-term investors, they ask the question about NIO, what will happen in 10 years? So they say NIO will be about mass market IP licensing of the technology and the manufacturing, also the premium memberships and autonomy, so the race to autonomous full self-driving. Also they say that NIO's partners and joint ventures with Chang'an and GAC are actually potent of doing 2 million vehicle sales per year. And interestingly, they think that autonomy may happen first in China than before in the West. So what are NIO's competitive advantages in their views? And they answer it with the NIO customer base and the direct relationship that they have. And NIO truly is a user enterprise. That's what they are also emphasizing all of the time. And of course, technology in terms of battery swapping, for instance, and software when it comes to NIO Pilot, autonomous driving, as well as NIO over-the-air software updates. And how is NIO business culture different from what else we see in the market? So Baillie Gifford here outlines that the service level is much higher than what you can see in the market. So they are really innovating on the user experience and the user journey, and they put design in the very beginning and also a premium experience that gets added value through the community in total. And one more important question regarding NIO is, do the customers really like it and what's the contribution towards society? Well, Baillie Gifford sees that the consumers are emphatic and ecstatic about NIO and actually want to contribute to the brand and that they're excited about it, and it's creating more demand that they can actually satisfy. Then one more question regarding their NIO investment is, are the returns actually worthwhile? Well, for now, NIO is not having any profits, so yeah, it's not yet worthwhile, but in the future they see the large potential with increased margins and also with the various business model and aspects that can create much more value for investors. Will NIO rise or fall? Well, according to Baillie Giffords, they see that it could rise sharply if NIO becomes an IP licensor, so not involved in the manufacturing, and then they see that there is a high potential for the stock also to rise and the company to thrive. So how is the capital of NIO invested and aligned? Well, first of all, in the past they have been criticized for burning a lot of cash because most of the company's money is actually going into R&D and investing into the tech for the new EV fleet. And now they're also always expanding and building new NIO houses, which have a very large footprint. And recently, the cost of that has been coming down because NIO spaces are cheaper to build than the bigger NIO houses. But according to Baillie Giffords, these are the biggest expenses for NIO. Another question is, could NIO be worth 5 times? And Baillie Giffords answered it and says by 2020 there could be 100 million affluent customers, and the car ownership is actually 3 times lower per capita than most developed companies, so they see a large potential upside here. However, we're now already in 2020 and obviously NIO hasn't had a 5-fold increase so far. So the biggest question is, what hasn't the market understood about NIO? Well, Baillie Gifford is saying there are lazy analogies to Tesla. We know that NIO has been branded as the China of Tesla in the past, and it's not as simple as that. Also, they outline that investors are too fearful about short-term troubles, for instance, like capital restraints, as we've been seeing that in the past couple of months. So all in all, what do I make of this investment prospectus and the price target of 300 billion valuation, and concluding to that around a $300 share price for NIO? So first of all, I really like the big vision as well as the long-term thinking about NIO, because that really aligns to how I'm also thinking about NIO myself. I get many questions regarding now should I sell NIO because it went from $2 to $7, and now I made more than 100% on the shares. But I really can't answer that because I'm staying for NIO in the long term and I want to look at 5 years or 10 years in time. And that's exactly what Baillie Giffords did, but they did it like in 2015, and today in 2020 we can see that it really hasn't materialized in that way yet. The short-term struggles have won over the NIO share price so far, and the $300 billion price target or valuation target really is on the very optimistic side. And I would say, yeah, I share the long-term vision here. At the same time, I would see it a little bit more conservative and also maybe go a little bit slower on that. What is my valuation target for NIO then, and how is it different from Baillie Giffords? Well, as you have seen in my valuation video about NIO, you've seen that I made the projections according to the Hefei agreement and the deal details that I found online, and I think they can achieve around 500 million in sales by 2025. And given the assumption that they really can improve their margins and they keep growing and outline that in the future, then I would be looking at an optimistic target of $40 a share in 5 years time future. But of course, it's still a very long way to that. And we can see in this 5-year timeline what can go actually wrong within that time. At the same time, I would say that Baillie Giffords' outlook here isn't that unrealistic at all if we look at a really, really long term. So I would share this vision if we look beyond a 5-year timeline as well. And of course, once again, if everything works out perfectly. I also like the fact that Baillie Giffords really stresses the fact that NIO shouldn't become a manufacturer. But now with the news of Volkswagen taking a bigger stake in NIO's manufacturing partner JAC, I made a video about that as well. Of course, it's remaining a risk for NIO if they can rely on the third parties and if they may not switch at some point in time of really doing their own vehicles and manufacturing them themselves. And I'm not as negative about the margin implications on that as Baillie Giffords is. At the same time, as outlined in my videos before, I like that the business model is different to Tesla. So I share the views that Tesla and NIO are really different and shouldn't be thrown into the same basket. At the same time, I do see the potential, and I also share the views with Baillie Giffords here that it's really a nice business model, that NIO possibly stays what they are, a lifestyle brand, and not producing the cars on their own and licensing to partners who are building the actual cars, so thereby they can grow and they can have healthy margins as well. So based on those potentials, how do I trade NIO stock, and also what is my views? Should I still buy or hold or sell NIO? Well, in my personal views, I have built my NIO position. It's quite big already. So, and I'm up with a nice cost average, and I'm not looking to sell in the near term future. And now things are actually looking good that NIO has new funding with the Hefei deal. So they may execute on that 5-year plan that I've been outlining before. And I'm actually not looking to sell before those 5-year period has ended. At the same time, if you're new to NIO, and actually in my previous videos I told everyone how risky NIO still is and how many question marks we still have regarding the actual funding terms and so on, for instance regarding dilution or the actual agreement, the legal parts of the contract. I told everybody that if you are a risk-adverse investor or conservative investor, you should possibly not invest or not consider investing in NIO right now, because it's still a largely risky investment. But now that NIO is already up to $7 a share, is it still a worthwhile investment? Well, I do think if you are also a long-term investor and you can wait for 5 years or maybe even 10 years time, I do still think that it's a valuable investment in that regard. There may be more ups and downs in the near-term future because it is a startup, it is uncertain, and there may be many market fluctuations coming. So if you are a weak hand or if you are looking short-term, then $7 a share is possibly not easy to get in right now because it may well fall into the near-term future. However, if you're willing to hold 5 or 10 years time, I do think it's quite likely that it will be trading above $7 a share, and it has the potential of actually getting you a pretty great reward on your investment in the future. However, as always, this is not investment advice. You need to come up with your own due diligence. I'm just outlining my thoughts and how I'm personally investing, and I hope this helps you to make up your own opinion. So whereas the Baillie & Giffords price tag is quite ambitious and also quite far away from the actual reality, I do think it gives us a nice guidance, and also it's great to have this large name and in my point of view a successful investor partly invested in NIO as well as in cool companies like Tesla as well. So that shows this is an important backer of NIO, and they have not even sold during the recent struggles. So I think in contrast to short sellers and also to more traditional conservative analysts from banks, it gives us a nice guidance of what could be an actual investment in a very distant future, and that is very valuable to possibly young investors and also to somebody who can actually take some risk. So I hope this was interesting to you to watch. If you like it, please smash the like button and also consider subscribing to our channel and hit that button that you get a notification whenever we post a new video. And also thank you guys for more than 5,000 subscribers. We just started this channel recently and it has been really going well, and we see a lot of support and a lot of interesting comments. So please always write us comments, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want, please support us on Patreon, which is a way of funding and helping content producers like us, because we do it as a side business. So if you support us, this means really the world to us, and also you get some benefits. Happy to have you guys on board, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time and have a great weekend. Bye bye.